Picture this. You're standing at a party. Maybe it's a graduation party, since those are hard to avoid this time of year. And you're introduced to someone new. To minimize those first few awkward moments, someone usually inserts an icebreaker, such as a comment about the weather, or how do you know so-and-so, or my favorite question, what do you do for a living? I always smile when I say I'm a speech therapist. I love my job. And although we go by a variety of different names, I really appreciate the nicknames that my clients give me, like the speech lady. So when I say I'm a speech therapist, I get a variety of comments, but one of the most common goes something like this. Oh my gosh, when I was in the 3rd grade, I couldn't say my S's, and I had to see a speech therapist. This is usually a springboard for some interesting conversations. Speech therapists do work on articulation, and we also work on a variety of other things. But what gets me coming back to my job day in and day out is the bigger impact that I have with my clients. I get to be a part of developing vital social skills, building lifelong confidence, and inspiring lasting connections, all through the use of communication. Now, what I'm going to share with you today is a little bit about what I learned when I was getting my master's degree in speech-language pathology. Probably a little bit more what I learned along the way with my clients and my own family and friends and coworkers. Little did I know 22 years ago, sitting in class learning about speech and language disorders, did I realize that I would get to play such a big role in helping people fulfill a fundamental human need to connect with others. So let's start with this. How would your day be different if you weren't able to communicate with those around you like you've done already today? As a doctor, how would you convey the good news that your client's cancer is in remission? If you're the manager of a program, how would you convey an important policy change to your employees? Maybe you collect contributions. How would you ask for those donations if you couldn't communicate? Most people agree that communication is the exchange of information, and I agree with that, but there's so much more to communication. When I was preparing for this speech, I asked the 85 speech therapists that work here at Nationwide Children's Hospital what they thought about communication. And this is the question I asked. What do you think are the top 3 qualities of a good communicator? And you might be surprised to know that the answers had little to do with the information coming out of your mouth. It had a lot more to do with the way you interact with people. The 3 qualities I'm going to talk about today are listening, being present, and having room for other people's stuff. So let's talk about these 3 qualities. The first is listening. This is more than just hearing. This is actively listening using more than just your ears. It's using all your senses. And this is a skill that can be taught and improved upon. Some ways that you can work on listening are teaching focus on the speaker and their gestures and their body language and facial expressions. By starting with simplified speech so that you're using keywords and phrases and building from there. And thirdly, you can use modeling good listening. You can use words like, I heard what you said, or I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that? And skills like this can be worked on with a client like Bailey. Bailey's a 3-year-old little girl with a lot of energy. When I met her, she came barreling through my waiting room and bursting through my treatment room door with her exasperated and exhausted parents chasing after her. Her parents were concerned that she couldn't communicate, that she was touching and into everything, always on the go, And they thought that she couldn't hear because she didn't follow directions very well. Well, a hearing test proved that she could hear, so we went to work on these other skills that have to do with active listening. And through this process, Bailey and her parents were able to connect and communicate. The second quality that I want to talk about is about being present. And by this I mean showing up, being in the room, and not just with your body, but with your mind as well. And this is also a skill, believe it or not, that can be worked on and improved upon. Some ways that we can do that are learning to be more aware of our own bodies, what's going on, how we feel, where we are in the room, where we are in relation to other people in the room. We can also limit distractions. Yes, cell phones can be turned off and technology can be put away. We can limit toys in the room, and we can limit distracting noises or other conversations. Presence can be worked on with someone like Henry. Henry is a 12-month-old little boy. He was born with neurological deficits, and because of this, he's had to have several surgeries over the first several months of his life, and he's had a lot of physical therapy and occupational therapy. But his mom's concerned because he's not making a lot of eye contact, and he's not laughing and babbling like other children his age, and he's not engaging with people when they come around. So we went to work on these skills of being present, making eye contact, and through this, Henry and his mom were able to connect and communicate. The final quality I want to talk about is having room for other people's stuff. And this can be meant as compassion for yourself, compassion for those around you. And these qualities can be worked on by teaching being open, being non-judgmental, not always being out to fix or change or be right in a conversation. Another way is to be willing to see that there are other alternatives to a conversation or another solution to a problem. And the final way that we could work on having room for other people's stuff is what I call choose your response. We can be aware of the emotions that are going on and how we're feeling or what someone's saying to us, how it makes us feel. But we can be more of an observer of that and think about what a more appropriate response could be. And I like to share the story of Carter. Carter is a 7-year-old little boy with autism. And he and his father come in every week and we get to play games. Games are a great way to set up a structured situation for social skills and language learning. And he loves to play games as long as they go his way. As soon as something happens that throws him off, like the game malfunctions or he loses, and I do set this up on purpose, what used to happen was he would throw the game across the room and have a tantrum or some kind of outburst. But in working with Carter and his dad on the skills of having room for these things, we were able to teach him how to be more open and make other choices and respond to a situation instead of impulsively react. So in closing, I want to review the 3 qualities and challenge you to use these in your own relationships. And the first one is actively listen. Use your whole body, all your senses. And 2, be present. Show up with your whole body and your mind. And finally, have room for other people's stuff. Focus on the positive outcomes of a situation. I want to thank you for coming today and listening to my talk. And just, I'd like you to think about unwrapping life's most precious gifts of connecting and communicating. Thank you.